Regarding the motor system examination of the nervous system, really the motor system consists of general inspection and palpation. This is the first, and then assessments of the tone, power, reflexes, and lastly coordination. In the first step, really the inspection and palpation, one should pay particular attention to the body position of the patient, and then for any involuntary movements, and lastly for the muscle bulk. First of all, we have to check the position of the patient because we have many neurological positions. For example, decorticate posture, abnormal flexion posture, and decerebrate posture, which is called also abnormal extensor posture. This is one. The next step should be to look for any abnormal movement. Abnormal movement may take the form of fasciculation. Fasciculation are twitches or ripples on the skin of atrophied muscle, especially look for them of the deltoid, quadriceps and calves, and you can enhance them by flickering over the muscle and flickering here over the muscle and over the calves. This is with respect to the fasciculation. Fasciculation could be normal and could be abnormal. Abnormal movement also may take the form of resting tremor, dystonia, choreoathetosis or chorioathetosis, hemibalism or ballistic movement, or may take the form the patient may have akathisia, which is a feeling of internal restlessness. After that, you have to check the muscle bulk. You have to check whether the muscle is atrophied, wasted, normal, or hypertrophied. If it is hypertrophied, really, we have two types. The hypertrophy may be either true hypertrophy, in which the bulk and the strength, both of them are increased, while pseudo-hypertrophy, in which the bulk is increased while the strength is decreased. Pay special or particular attention of the inter-OCI, here of the spaces of the metacarpal and of the hypothinner and thinner muscle that should be concave. Any muscle really can be wasted or atrophied. Check bilaterally. And also you have to palpate the muscle, especially of the proximal shoulder girdle and of the pelvic girdle. This is because certain muscle disease, for example, in case of myositis, the muscle will be tender, and in case of rhabdomyolysis, the muscle may become firm in character. In addition to that, patient with pseudohypertrophy may have a feeling of dewy muscles. If there is any wasting in the muscle, you have to check the process, whether it is focal or it is global. This is also important because, and if it is also global, you have to check whether the process is proximal or distal. Really, the proximal muscle weakness are usually myopathic and as an underlying cause, while distal muscle weakness are usually neuropathic as an underlying cause. Regarding the examination of the reflexes, really we have superficial reflexes and we have deep tendon reflexes. Let's start with the superficial reflexes. First of all, I'll check for abdominal reflexes. And the abdominal reflex, you have to scratch, for example, a tongue blade from laterally into medially in the phenoid direction into the symphysis pubis and into the xiphoid sternum. In the same way, the other area to be scratched. Really, this test, this reflex is conducted via T8 into up to T12, and it is lost in any patient with lower motor neuron lesion involving these roots or this nerve, and in any patient with the suprasegmental or contralateral cortical lesion. This is with respect to the upper abdominal superficial reflex. In the lower limb, we have the Babiness sign. Really, regarding the Babiness test, we have to have a key and ask the patient I'll tell the patient that you are gonna checking this test. بس حماد راح أطخ رجلك بهذا المفتاح، ماكو مشكلة. And in the following manner, first of all you have to stroke the lateral side from here up to the base of the small or little toe. If the patient had no response, we can continue into the base of the big toe in the following manner. Okay, and see the response of the patient. Normally the response is that of flexion of the big toe and the flexion of other toes. This is the normal. Patient who had positive Babiness sign or extensor plantar response will develop this movement. First of all, the hallux will be up, dorsiflexed, and the finger will be fanning of the finger. These are fanning of the finger, and the hallux will be up, dorsiflexed. Sometimes there is a mass reflex in which the patient had dorsiflexion of the ankle, flexion of the knee, and even flexion in the hip. This is what we call it, mass reflex. Sometimes the patient had intermediate reflex, thus to say the big toe and other toe will be flexed into the plantar surface and then into the dorsal surface. This is also positive reflex and indicate upper motor neuron lesion. If the patient, once you touch his plantar surface, the patient in ticklish manner, he withdraw his leg into his body. This is what we call it withdrawal response, and the test should be repeated. And when you comment upon the Babiness, really we haven't such a sentence that there is no or negative Babiness sign. Babiness sign is pathological reflex. When it is present, we have to say positive Babiness sign or test, and it is better to say plantar response as extensor or flexor. Really we have derivatives or alternative for the Babiness. First of all is the Oppenheim in such a manner, and then Gordon squeezing of the calf muscle, and then Schaefer squeezing of the Achilles tendon, and then we have the Chadog by stroking the lateral surface of the foot just like this, and we have the Bing and Gonda. This is the Gonda flickering of the little finger, and the Bing when you use a pinhead over the dorsal surface of the big toe. All these are derivatives for the Babiness, and the candidate or the examiner should look at the movement of the big toe. This is about the Babiness sign. Sometimes the patient had, for example, amputation here, for example at the knee. One can partially elicit Babiness sign when he or she stimulates the stoma here of the patient and put his hand here over the tensor fascia lata to see the contraction. If there is a contraction here, this is partial response for Babiness. This is with respect to superficial reflexes. Let's go now into the deep reflexes. First of all, we have to check for the triceps reflex. We will cross the arm of the patient, ask the patient to relax, and then palpate the tendon and strike it. And then to strike it. Okay, we will see the contraction here, and we will see also the joint movement. This is with respect to the triceps. Once you finish this reflex, you have to check the other side. على راحتك ترخي. Okay. After that, we will check for the biceps reflex. Put your finger over the biceps tendon and also strike it, and then also check the biceps from the other side. check it. After that you have to check for the supinator reflex about 2 inches from the radial styloid process here, or you can put your finger so as not to hurt the patient. After that you have to check for finger reflex in the following manner, and then you have to check for the Hoffman sign by grasping the middle finger and flicker it just like this. If the patient just like this voluntarily, if he had no reflexes can be elicited, we can perform Jandrasik's maneuver. We will show it after completion the lower limb reflexes. In the lower limb reflexes, first of all the knee joint reflex, you can use this maneuver. Look at the quadriceps contraction, palpate the patellar tendon and then strike it. Okay, and then you have to check the other leg. This is the contraction. After that you have to check for the ankle. This is 90 about, and here is 90, and strike the Achilles tendon. Okay, after that you have to check the contralateral. Contralateral reflex. This is about the lower limb reflexes. This is the ankle, knee, and the upper limb reflexes. If the patient just like this volunteer had an upper limb really weak reflexes, we can perform Jandrasic maneuver to increase the anterior horizontal excitability in the following manner. Either we ask the patient to clench his teeth or to perform fist with the contralateral hand. هسه تصمنا حلقك حال من أقول لك أنا. For example, I'll perform the biceps reflex. هسه صمنا صكنا أسنانك حال 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 قوي. Okay, now we have reflex. هسه على راحتك تفتح لنا إياها. هسه بهذا إيدك صمها هيك حال من أقول لك. يلا. Okay, we have now a reflex. Really, this is Jandrasic maneuver. If we perform it on the lower limb, we can ask the patient, in addition to fist and clenching of the teeth, we can ask the patient to interlock his fingers. هسه ايديك هيك. من أقول لك صمهن حال. Let's take a look at the quadriceps. يلا حال حال حال. This is the contraction. هاي عشت ايدك. Okay, this is what we call it Jandrasic maneuver, or what we call it the reinforcement maneuver. Really, in the reflexes we have some issues other than this. Sometimes the candidate may be asked about alternative triceps reflex. هسه تقدر تقعد. In the following manner, you have to slide your arm here. هسه ترخي ذبح ايدك ذبح. And ask the patient to relax. And then to also strike the triceps tendon just like this. And we have also the hang up reflex, or reflex of that of hypothyroidism mainly. So تقدر تقعد من هنا وتطلع لنا رجليك. هي بدي نفس معك. بعد طلعها لبرا لبرا. اوكي تفصل لنا اياها. Just like this in the following manner. As we see here, let's look at the dorsiflexion and then plantar flexion. Really, all this about the superficial and deep tendon reflexes. We have another reflexes which are primitive reflexes that are not routine. Sometimes the examiner committee really ask about the inverted brachioradialis reflex or supinator reflex, or that of absence of knee jar or ankle jar with extensor plantar response. The candidate really should read about these two issues carefully, and all this about the examination and the skill required for the reflex examination. Okay, the next step in the motor system assessment is the assessment of the muscle power or muscle strength. Really, you have to check each action or each group of muscle and to check whether it is of normal strength or not. We are usually classify the strength into 6 grades, starting from no movement and then flickering of movement and up to full range of movement. Really, as always, we start with the upper limb and then we will check the lower limb. First of all, I'll check the upper limb in the hands. First of all, I'll check the fingers. هسه تفتح لي اصابعك هيك، هذه هاي المنطقة وانا راح اسدها لا تخليني. اوكي عشت ايدك هسه هنا انا هم نفس الحالة. اوكي هسه تلزم لي اصابع حيل تضغط عليهن وانا راح اسحبهن لا تخليني اطلعهن. عشت ايدك. This will assist in the flexion, abduction of the hand and flexion. This is one. And then I'll ask the patient to make a fist to complete my examination. بسوي لنا هيك. هسه هذه ايدك هيك تطبقها على جسمك واني ما اخليك. عشت ايدك هسه تدفعني. اوكي I'll check this side. هسه هماتين عشت ايدك هسه تدفعني. اوكي هسه بهاي ايدك هذا النوع تسحبها وانا ما اخليك. اسحبها الك وانا ما اخليك عافية. هسه تدفعني. هسه هنا على نفس الحالة. اوكي ادفعني. عشت ايدك. هسه هنا وانت هيك تدفعها لبرا ايدك وانا ما اخليك عافية. هسه تدخلها للداخل في نفس الحالة. انا راح ادخلها وانت تطلع عافية. هسه هنا نفس الحالة. عشت ايدك هسه تنضرب. Okay, we assess really after finger we assess the wrist flexion and extension, elbow flexion and extension, abduction and adduction at the shoulder. I'll check at the thigh. At the thigh we have to check the flexion and extension in the following manner. ايديك رجليك العفو باستقامة واحدة وترفعها لفوق وانا ما اخليك حيل حيل. عفي هاي هي عشت ايدك. هسه بالعكس انا راح ارفعهن وانت تدخلهن لجوا. عفي عشت ايدك. After that I'll check adduction and abduction. هسه دخلهن للداخل وانا ما اخليك. عفي هسه للخارج. عشت ايدك. هسه هنا على ثني لي هاي رجلك. اوكي هسه انت بهاي رجلك تدفع ايدي هنا نحن. عفي هسه تدخلها رجلك للداخل. عفي هسه نفس الحالة بهاي الجهة هم تطلعها لبرا. عفي هسه للداخل. عفي هسه نوب بهذا رجلك انت تسحب كف رجلك عليك وانا ما اخليك قوي. عفي هسه تدفع اي هنا تدفع لبرا للداخل. اوكي هسه هاي رجلك هيك تسويها للداخل وانا منعك. اي عفي هسه للخارج وانا منعك. عفي هسه للداخل لبرا. اوكي after that we had already check each power of the muscle, keeping in our mind that the patient may have normal power or strength of the muscle. If the patient was unable to resist the or unable to counteract my resistance, so I have to check the muscle against gravity alone. How can we do that? Just like this, if the patient had this position in his arm, هسه بهاي ايدك نفس الوضعية هاي هيك تسويها. اوكي لا وهي منطقة هيك عفي هسه تنزلها هسه لفوق. عفي this is against gravity. هاي ترفعها رجلك عشت ايدك تنزلها. This is just against gravity. When the gravity is eliminated هذه تسحبها لبرا. عشت ايدك هذه هماتين تسحبها لبرا. عشت ايدك. Okay, this is against when the gravity is eliminated. If the patient was unable also to perform this maneuver, we have to check just for any flickering of contraction. This is just to grade the power of the muscle in the following manner as I performed now. The next step in the assessment of the motor system, you have to check for the tone. Really, the tone is defined as the passive resistance felt by the examiner when he or she moves a joint. So it is undertaken as the following. We have to move the joints. First of all, we will move the upper limb joints and then we will move the lower limb joint, taking in account that the movement should be firstly in a slow speed and then in a fast rhythm, and this is important also in the interpretation. So first of all I'll ask the patient to relax. بس ردك ترخي لنا، ترخي. أنا راح أحرك أصابعك وغيرهن. First of all you have to flex and extend the finger, and then you have to flex and extend the wrist and rotate it. Really here, if you suspect that the patient had rigidity in the form of cogwheel rigidity, that is not 100%, that you are not 100% sure of that, you can ask the patient to make reinforcement. بس هاي سمونا ايدك وافتح هاي بلي. Just like this. هاي عشت ايدك. And then you have to flex and extend the elbow joint. After that you have to adduct and abduct, and then circumduction, just like this. And you have to check also the other hand, flexion and extension. Here is flexion and extension. Rotation also, flexion, extension, adduction, abduction, and then circumduction. Once you finish that in a slow movement, you have to check it in a fast movement, just like this. And then you have to check the next parts also, or the contralateral part. This is with respect to the upper limb. After that, ask the patient to be in supine position. بس تقدر تنطرح هنا وتنطر رجليك. To check for the lower limb, first of all, we will take an attention to the hip. الترخي نرخي جسمك. Okay, just like this, in a slow speed. And then for the knee, and then for the ankle joint, ترخينا. لا رخي رجلك. Yes, just like this. And then at a higher speed. Yes, why this process? Why we have to take in this process into speeds? Really, the abnormalities of the tone may take the form of hypertonia, that's to say an increase in the tone, and this hypertonia may take the form of spasticity or the rigidity. Really, in spasticity usually affect the anti-gravity muscle, that's to say the flexor muscle of the upper limbs and the extensor muscle of the lower limb. You have to identify that. Or may take the form of rigidity. Rigidity is of two types, either the cogwheel rigidity, in which there is alternate contraction of the agonist and antagonist muscle, or may take the form of lead pipe rigidity, in which the muscle or the tone is increased all over the range of movement. Usually the best side for to detect cogwheel rigidity is at the wrist, and we had already shown the process of reinforcement, while the lead pipe rigidity is usually detected at the lower limb. This is with respect to the hypotonia. This is with respect to hypertonia. If the patient may have also hypotonia due to a variety of causes, if we suspect hypotonia really during the process of examination, we can, just like this, we can move the forearm. As you see, this is the normal process, but patients who have flabby joints, this is usually due to hypotonia. And the same thing here, when you rocking the hip, patient, this is normal tone, but patients who have hypotonia, you will see that the ankle joint and the foot is or had flappy movement. This is with respect to the hypotonia. We have another type of abnormality in the tone, which is paratonia. This is usually detected due to frontal lobe disease and in patients who have diffuse brain disease. In this type, really, you will see that the patient during the slow movement of a joint, the patient have normal tone, but once you increase or the rhythm became fast of movement, you will see that the tone is also increased. And the pathology, as I said, is due to diffuse brain atrophy and in patient with frontal lobe disease. The last abnormality in the tone is what we call the myotonia. Myotonia is defined as an increase or sudden increase in the tone after sustained contraction. Really, we can identify myotonia via special tests. First of all, we can ask the patient to make a fist. بس سوينا هيك. افتحها ايدك. Okay, patient who have myotonia after this sustaining of contraction, هنزلها براحتك. He had slow opening. This is due to myotonia, or we can contract, or we can really tapping or strike the thinner muscle here, just like this, and we will see that there is addiction and persistent dimpling here. This is 2, and we can also perform myotonia in the tongue with the tongue depressor. We can press there, and lastly we can ask the patient to cough. بس تخلينا ايدك وقوح. Patient who have myotonia, when he cough, he can't open his eye after coughing. And in myotonia, you have to check whether the myotonia is associated with dystrophy, muscle dystrophy, or not. All these steps and the processes are dealing with the tone of the